This is All Figured Out. I'm Andrea Barr. I'm a career coach for parents, a mom of two, and I absolutely believe that you can continue to grow personally and professionally while protecting family time. We're about to figure out this work, life, and parenting stuff out together. Heather Boersma, thank you so much for joining me on the All Figured Out podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good to have you here. I saw you yesterday at an event. We were both at Feast, hosted by the fantastic Emily Shimwell, who was on the podcast a few episodes ago. And you're like, see you tomorrow. And I was like, what? You're like, we're recording the podcast. But I was so thrown off because I was seeing you on a Sunday. And it's like, who does things on a Sunday? Which is
Not
the
usually
best.
me. Yeah, it was so fun.
I know. So it was lovely to see you there, and now virtually online.
Yeah.
I've actually never asked a guest this because I'm very I heard somewhere at some point someone say on a podcast it's very boring to have a guest introduce themselves. Like you should be the one to do that in the upfront. It's so funny. So I've held on to that. But I am actually so curious, how do you introduce yourself these days? You've gone through so many pivots. There's been so many beautiful iterations of who you've been in your life. Today, how do you introduce yourself?
Oh man, that's a great question. Probably the way I'd introduce myself today is that I'm a life coach and my passion is really helping humans create work-life flow. I talk about flow instead of balance because I know balance is the word that most of us use, but balance is something most of us don't believe in. So yeah, a life coach who helps you create work-life flow.
I love that. And do you also throw in their author
You're
like a multi-hyphen author?
Yes, I should. I have 3 books. So yeah, I'm also an author and a speaker. I think I lead with life coach because that's the role I love most. But yes, I also am a 3-time author and I've done motivational speaking for the last 20 years as well.
Oh my goodness. And you're a mother.
And I'm a mama of 3.
Mother of 3. And their ages again, because I think this is also cool that you span like a good number of like range ages and stages.
Yeah, totally.
Parenting.
Yeah. So my son is 14, daughter's 12, and then my other son is 8. So yeah, we're kind of we have one foot in each world, teenager and still like the elementary kind of age.
Yeah. Does it just sidebar? It keeps getting better, right?
It keeps getting so much better. I was just talking to someone at the event yesterday and she was talking about, she has a 6-month-old and she's processing having another child. And I said to her, I'm like, I know this might not be the thing that you want to hear right now because it can feel like it's saying how hard it is right now isn't valid, but it does get so much easier. So much easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was chatting with some people yesterday and I chat about this topic a lot where I get very upset by the just you wait people. And I know that's my own stuff, but the like that notion of just you wait. In either way, like in a negative context or in a positive, like anything that brings me out of the present and is like, you should be wishing this away or you should be wishing for something else. I'm like, I don't find that to be helpful.
Yeah.
I understand it comes from a great place, but you know what I mean?
Oh, I absolutely know what you mean. My least favorite thing that people said to me when I had 3 small children was, the days are long, but the years are short. I wanted to punch those people in the face. I was like, I feel like what you're saying to me is that my experience right now is not valid. And also on top of that, like I'm doing it wrong somehow by feeling what I'm feeling right now, which was I loved them so desperately. And I was so exhausted and I wasn't enjoying myself for many of those days that, and it's not that I was like not being present. That was me being present. Me being present was me recognizing how hard it was for me.
Preach. That is like, I'm going to mark that. It's such an important thing to talk about. Nobody talks about it. Like how you can be like, man, this is hard. And it's like, but just wait, they're going to go off to college. And you're like, what the hell? Like, I'm not saying that I don't want these children here and now. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. But
Mhm.
yeah, this moment right now kind of sucks. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Like, yeah, it's so interesting, and then you get shamed in either way, or you're like, "Oh my gosh, this moment is so great. They're in such a great stage." And they're like, "Oh, just wait, your kid's about to turn 3. Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
the worst." And you're like, "Okay,
Mhm.
so now I'm supposed to be grieving this period that's about to." It's
You
it's
can't win.
shame.
Yeah.
Shame painting all over.
Yeah.
Is that a phrase? Did we
Oh, I
just
don't
make
know,
this
now it
up?
is. Market. Market, girl.
Oh my goodness. I wanna hear your whole life story. We don't have, like, quite enough time for, like, every detail and, like, what color dress you like to wear as a kid if you like to wear dresses, but take me to Heather, the motivational speaker. I think that is fascinating, and you
Mhm.
don't hear a lot of people owning that, like, I am or I was a
Yeah.
motivational speaker. They'll be like, "Oh, I teach on this, and I
Right.
do some speaking." No one owns that. Tell me
Yeah.
about that category, that space. How did you get into that?
Yeah. So I how did I get into that? I was traveling after high school and I ended up in Australia and I ended up speaking at this random thing. Like literally someone pulled me on stage and was like, "Share about your travels." And it was so random. And then afterwards that person was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. Like you need to do more of this." And I was like, "Okay, but like how does one do this?" And so I was also in university to become a teacher. Really did not want to do that, but my parents were like, "You need to have like a good solid plan for your
Mm.
life, and this is a good step." And then I decided to put on a women's event. And I was like, "Well, if no one's going to hire me to speak if they've never heard me, so I'll just create my own event and I'll hire myself to speak." And I invited all the women that I knew. I was like in my 20s, like early 20s, 2021. And at this event, there was a woman who had been a mentor in my life attending, and she heard me speak and she said, "Heather, there is this tour that just started for teen girls called Beautiful Unique Girl. And they have a speaker right now, but if the tour does really well and continues, this person they have will not be continuing with them. So I want to connect you with them." And I was like, "Yes, please." And so they ended up connecting us. And I then toured with that organization for the next 2 years through finishing my university education degree. And then that kind of snowballed into speaking at summer camps and youth conferences, and then eventually speaking more to women. Yeah, so it was just kind of this like putting yourself out there, taking a risk, doing the thing, and then someone else being in the room and being like, "Hey, let me connect you with the next step."
That is so cool. And then what was the transition like into quote unquote real life after the tour ended? You've got the teaching degree. How did you
Yeah.
even how did you navigate that? That is you're young at this point too.
Yeah, I'm just a baby. And I got a
Probably
full
thought you were old though. You were
Oh
like,
my
"I know
gosh. I was like,
everything."
"Why are people not hiring me? Like, I have so much to share." And here I was like 25 years old.
I love it.
Um, and I got a full-time teaching job. And at the time, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so hard to get a job." And I was like, "I don't even want to get a job." And I did. I got a full-time job that could have been like the rest of my career. I did 1 year and I was also still speaking like on the weekends. And I just hated it. It was crushing my soul to be in this classroom teaching kids about Shakespeare when I really wanted to be talking to them about their goals and their dreams and their visions. And you can do that as a teacher, but so much of those first years are so bogged down in prep and marking and classroom management that I was like, I'm not having the impact I want to have. And so I quit that job at the end of the first year. Everyone thought I was crazy. And then I started writing a book called Dream Big. And I was like, if I'm going to write this book, I have to live this message. And so I quit the job and continued on with the speaking.
Actually so incredible. And can you I think I really wanna highlight that moment when people were like, "You're nuts. You're walking
Yeah.
away from the teacher's pension. You're walking away from the benefits. You're walking away from, like the full year or 2 years of teachers college," or whatever it was, which feels like this, like,
5 years.
insane. Oh, jeez. Oh,
Yeah.
god. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you stay in your conviction? That you're like, "No, no, this is my path," and not
Yeah.
curl into a shell of like, "No, no, I've gotta, like, go with whatever all these adults are telling me."
Right. Yeah, I think it was a combination of having had such a negative experience at that school with a particular group of students. It was a private school, and so the parents aren't just parents, they're also paying customers, and the admin kinda sold me out and didn't support me, and I think it just highlighted, like, I'm gonna give my life to this career when the people who are supposed to be having my back aren't even having my back. Like, it made it really easy to leave. And then when people were like, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing?" I think in a lot of ways, the people who knew me closest knew that teaching wasn't the spot for me, but just kind of wanted me to have some kind of like plan B. So even though they thought I was crazy, my parents have always thought I was crazy. Like they thought me moving to Vancouver 4 years ago was crazy, but they still support me and love me and cheer me on. They just don't understand me.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
"You're wild."
Oh my gosh. Now take us into the parenthood, motherhood journey.
Mhm.
How did that all unfold as you were navigating this world of motivational speaking
Yeah.
and, like, building this big career? Like, that's a big career. That requires a lot of time. How
Yeah.
did you make that transition into motherhood?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, when I quit the teaching job, I did a year of subbing and speaking, and that year I got pregnant. And I'd only been married 3 years. I think I was 27, 28 years old. We didn't think it would happen that quickly. We had a lot of close friends and family who'd had a lot of challenges getting pregnant, so we were like, "Well, let's at least get a start." Immediately got pregnant. And so then for the next, like, I want to say probably 4 or 5 years, I was having babies and speaking and bringing my babies on like speaking retreat weekends and then like bringing my mother in law along or like a friend along to like watch the baby while I spoke at this thing. I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I guess I was young and I had energy and motivation, would not do the things now that I was doing then. And then there was also, like, a lot of room for me to be with the babies. Like, I stayed home for the first year with all 3 of my children, and then after that, had kind of part-time care as I continued to work on whatever kind of book writing or projects or speaking that I was doing. So, yeah, that was kind of
Wow.
the rhythm of it.
What would you do differently? Like, you're saying, would you change anything or you would approach it differently?
I just don't think I could do now what I was doing then.
Yeah, totally. I hear
Like,
you.
I would not get on a
Yeah.
plane now with a baby and fly to an event for a whole weekend and have said baby, like, napping in my hotel room while I'm like, it just I did that a lot, and so I don't necessarily regret it. I'm like, I kind of
Yeah.
admire that version of me that she, like, had the energy and like, the fire to do that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so life is looking very good on the outside. You're having your babies,
Yeah.
you're doing your speaking,
Yeah.
and then what was the moment where things were not feeling great on the inside and you were
Yeah.
like, "Shit."
Yeah, so even though I was pursuing what I felt was my passion, I was doing it with a lot of pressure on myself because I felt that me having these events and being on these stages was what made me significant.
Mm.
And that's a lot of pressure. If your whole identity is riding on your next event that you're going to book, it just makes it feel like you have to have events. It's not like it's fun or it's, exciting or creative. It's like if you don't do this, then it means you're not worthy and you're not good enough and people don't like you and people don't want to hear what you have to say. And that kind of started to erode away at my sense of self, but also at my health and my wellness, and eventually led me into my very first panic attack, which was on an airplane home from a speaking event. And in that moment, I realized the pace that I was going and the pressure that I was putting on myself were not working anymore. And I had to take a huge step back from everything to try to figure out how to heal because that panic attack was just the first of many. And I went into a year of like deep anxiety and I was functioning, but like barely, like just doing the bare minimum to get by. I was not well. And
Ugh.
yeah.
What was that? Can you take us if you're willing to kinda go back to that
Mhm.
moment? I've personally never experienced a panic attack, it's so incredible what the body can do and, like, the physical
Yeah.
response that it can have to
Yeah.
a mental I guess a mental situation, like, your body
Yeah.
physically reacting to whatever's happening in the mind. Was there a trigger? Was there something that happened, like
Mhm.
turbulence, or was there something that
Mhm.
was like the straw that broke the camel's back? Like,
Right.
how did that all happen?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't it was nothing to do with flying, and it wasn't to do with, like, an immediate circumstance. It was and I didn't even have, like, a conscious thought at the time of, like, "There's so much pressure on me to perform. I need to be good enough," or, like, I that wasn't none of that was conscious.
Yep.
And it was, like, living in my body, and I was at the airport, and I just started feeling, like, nauseous, and then I was like, "Do I have the stomach flu?" And then I started getting, like, kinda like these hot flashes. I was, like, sweating, and then this weird thing always happened to me when I had anxiety is, like, your when this is one of the things that happens is for some people is your pupils become more dilated because your
Oh.
body is trying to take in more of your surroundings because it thinks you're in danger. So it's like everything felt like super bright and like in a very kind of uncomfortable, alarming way. Um, and I had never experienced any of these things. So I was freaking out. I was like, I think I'm dying. I think I'm going to have a heart
Yeah.
attack. And that's also very common. Your heart starts racing, and then you're worried about your heart racing. So then it's racing more. And all of this is happening before and as I got onto the plane. And then you're going to be like stuck on a plane for however many hours. And I remember calling over the flight attendant and being like, can I get some oxygen like now? Because like I think I'm going to pass out. And the flight attendant was like, well, we can give you oxygen, but if we do, then you're going to be met with paramedics and a stretcher when you land in your destination. And I was like, the only thing worse than dying on this plane would be having to be picked up by paramedics when I land. Uh, but yeah, it was just like this super intense experience. Like I thought I had felt anxious before, but I had no idea, like, what that actually meant until I experienced it.
That sounds very scary.
Yeah, it
Very
was.
scary.
Yeah.
And then you said it was a series of panic
Mhm,
attacks. So you go home and then I love that you said, like, "I didn't know at the time." Like, you're
mhm,
describing it with such clarity, I can imagine in that moment, like, so
mhm.
many kind of traumatic moments, you're not aware of what you're learning in the moment. So
No.
you come home, and then how did you unravel all that? And
Yeah.
you said you had to kinda slow down. What did that look like?
Yeah. Well, to give some context, I also had genetic testing done at that time because my mom had had breast cancer and found out she carried the breast cancer gene. And so I had genetic testing and had just recently found out. I can't actually remember if it was before or after the panic attack, but right around the same time found out that I did carry the breast
Mm.
cancer gene, which meant I had an 80% chance of getting breast cancer and a 20% chance of getting ovarian cancer. And so then I also watched a very close family member pass away from cancer, like in a matter of weeks. So I started telling myself this story like, you're going to get cancer and die and leave your kids without a mom, which now looking back, I'm like, well, that obviously was creating a lot of the anxiety in my body. And I knew I couldn't live this way. Like I was like, I'm not just gonna go on anxiety meds and just this is how I'm gonna live now. So I went on a journey to like heal and I was exploring every kind of option that I knew of. I was in therapy, I was seeing a naturopathic doctor, I was seeing a nutritionist, I was, going to the gym not to like get healthy, but like to manage my anxiety. I was hitting it from, every angle that I knew. And I would say within like a year or 2, maybe 2 of like starting that healing process, I part of that was finding coaching and the tools of coaching. I don't think they were necessarily what healed me. I think I had to process a lot of that first, but they were what helped me kind of get back into a place of like living my passion and feeling like I had the tools to keep going despite knowing this about myself, that I am someone who is prone to anxiety.
Mm. And how did rest play into this whole
Mm,
journey? Because
yeah.
you didn't say well, you said slow down at the beginning, but then, like, you were, like, adding, which I'm saying from a place of, like, I feel so seen and heard and
Mm,
understood by that phrase of,
yeah.
like, I was hitting it on
Yeah.
all angles. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, "Yes, give me an issue, Imma freaking hit it at all
Yeah.
angles." And for me personally, I can't speak for you, but I wanna hear how this resonates. Like, I'm not very good at being like, "Let me pare things back." I'm like,
Mhm.
"I'm gonna
Totally.
layer on top." So what did that look like for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, so in this time is when I started to recognize the core root issue of this whole thing for me was that my identity, my value, my worth was tied directly to my productivity, my
Mm,
ability to produce results. And that's why every date on the calendar felt so important and why I was always looking for a bigger stage and another opportunity. It's not because I wanted fame, it's because I believed that that was what would create and validate my worthiness. And as I discovered that, that's when I had to step back from it. That's when I said, I'm not going to speak anymore because I know that every time I take another event, I'm just feeding that productivity addiction, really. And so that was the rest for me wasn't about an activity of slowing down and taking a nap, for example, though I love a nap. Rest for me was breaking my tie of my identity to productivity and starting to believe and create a belief system that I was worthy simply because I exist and not because of all the things that I could produce.
and how do you feel this shifted for you, this narrative or this feeling, this belief for pre-kids, post-kids?
Mm. Well, I think having kids is what made the hustle not work anymore, right?
Mm,
Like we can hustle in our 20s before kids and even in that early childhood years, but you hear about a lot of people experiencing anxiety after they have children. And it's
mhm.
not just because now you're not sleeping at all. It's because when you're not sleeping at all, for example, everything that you were kind of rolling with and managing, your capacity to manage is so decreased that those things that are pushed down come to the surface faster. And so I think this was always an issue for me, but being a mom and having such demands on my time, energy, attention, resources is what caused it to bubble to the surface so that I actually had to deal with it. My body knew all along this isn't working. But only after motherhood was my body able to like express loud enough for me to pay attention to say like, "Hey, stop. We're not doing this anymore. This is not sustainable." Yeah,
Wow, and with, like, a big spotlight, like, I can it's just, like,
absolutely.
a big spotlight, and then the stakes become higher, like,
Yeah,
I can imagine you're like, "I have 3 kids, like, I can't afford to be not okay." Like, if I'm in my
yeah,
20s and this is happening, like, okay, fine, I slow down and, like, I shift things around, the stakes aren't that high,
yeah.
and then you have kids and you're like and you're going through I'm so sorry about the death of a family member or
Mhm.
someone close to you and your mom and, like, all the stakes, it sounds like, just compounded,
Yeah.
plus having your own 3 kids who you do anything for, and you're like, "Oh, I can't afford to not be well or not be
Yes.
okay."
Exactly. Like, I was, like, driving in the car with them, and one time I was like, "I think I need to pull over because like, my vision was, like, going blurry," and I'm like, this is nuts. Like, and it's not just affecting me, it's affecting my ability to show up for them, to show up for my husband, to show up for my community. And I mean, I had to do it like for me, like believing that I was worthy of that extra time, that rest, that whatever. Like that's a big part of the rest journey is believing and starting to see that we're worthy of rest, even if there are people who need us. But it was also them needing me that helped me prioritize it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you said that rest is not necessarily layering something else on, which I love because we were talking
Yeah.
about those layers that you were adding. You're like, "I'm not now layering on a shavasana, layering on a yoga nidra,
Yeah.
layering on a nap, a 2-hour nap on a middle of a
Yeah.
Tuesday." Maybe it is. okay, so if that's not necessarily the only definition of rest, I'm sure that
Right.
is a version of rest, then what is rest in
Yeah.
your
So kind of the thesis of the book is that rest is not an activity, it's an approach to life that's rooted in worthiness. So for me in this season, I do have a faster pace of life, but that doesn't mean I'm not rested. Like I'm rested because my roots are now really deep into the belief that I'm worthy, whether I do these things or not. And then I get to do them. I talk about in the book living from or living for.
I love that
And
one.
living from is when we understand that our worthiness is the starting line. It's not a point we have to reach by hitting a certain number of outcomes. Living for is when we believe I have to do all these things to prove, to validate, to, convince other people that I'm enough. So that shift is what creates sustainability, I believe. It's when we start to live from worthiness, and that's what rest is. Rest is found at the foundation. It's an internal agreement with our own worthiness.
So I am worthy. Okay, so I am worthy from birth through to
Yes.
death. And I am worthy without any sort of ties, without any
Yeah.
sort of like I'm
Titles.
moving titles, like you said, moving
Yeah.
towards something, climbing that corporate ladder,
Yeah.
having a 6-figure business, 7-figure business, having the perfect partner, the perfect house, the perfect marriage, the perfect kids.
Mhm.
They wear cotton linen, they don't wear Carters, they're organic this, their poops are perfect. It's like, holy shit. Like
Yeah.
there's so and it's okay. I don't know, from my perspective, it's okay to have desires, but what I'm hearing from you
Yeah.
is it's the starting from that place of like, I'm worthy regardless of any of that. If I don't get out of bed
Yeah.
today because I just can't, I'm still worthy of a beautiful life. Now, I'm worthy of rest, meaning I'm worthy to like tell me more about that. I'm worthy to choose what I do. I'm worthy to like to not be productive. That sounds like that was part of your journey, and I feel like that
Yeah. Yeah.
resonate
So I'm
resonate with a lot of listeners.
yeah. So I'm worthy is the rest. So it's not just I'm worthy of rest, it's I'm worthy. That to me almost equals rest. Because
Oh.
when we really like deeply agree with that, it feel like you feel it in your body. You're like, and I get in that mode all the time because I'm a doer and I love to get shit done. I love to cross things off my list. I'm like,
Yeah.
I get up, I'm get to work, and I text my one friend. I'm like, I made muffins, and I did this and I did that, and she's like, I barely rolled over out of bed. Like, what are you doing? But that's just who I am. But when I start to notice it feeling frantic or rushed or high stakes, I'm like, that that is not rest. I have to come back to like my worthiness is secure. It's not something up for debate. It's not something to be earned. From that place, what do I want to do next? And you mentioned it, like desires and wants, those still matter. And actually, I would say they become more clear when your worthiness is not at stake. Because suddenly, instead of I want to do this to prove it to everybody else, I want to do this because Sally did it. I want to do this because society says I should do it. My boss says I should do it. Like, if we take all the shoulds off, then we actually get to see what our desires are. And then when we take action towards our desires, often it has more of an impact because it's actually aligned with who we are and what we truly want.
Whoa. So you're taking away the should.
Yes. Fuck them. That's what I
Fuck the
say.
shoulds.
Fuck the shoulds.
And then you're like, and then I'm just gonna make these decisions from a place of worthiness. Okay. I was gonna come up with a hypothetical person. Let's use me.
Okay, great.
I'm a good example. And I'm an open book. Okay. I have a also I'm like now getting free therapy from you. Who you are also going to school for counseling, which is incredible. We haven't even talked
Yeah.
about that, which is so
Yes.
cool. And that sounds like a decision you would have made from a place of desire. And maybe other
Yeah.
people would have been like, you shouldn't do that. No, no, no. Anyways, we can get there. But
Yeah.
this is great. This is great. Okay. So me. I was saying to somebody at the event yesterday, I talk fast, I move fast, I think fast, I do things very fast.
Mhm.
Are they always accurate? Hell to the no, but that's okay. And I have always danced between these two worlds of some people, like when I was in advertising, I was like, it was like, I was praised for that, right? That
Mm.
side of me, because I
Yeah.
moved at the speed of this wild industry. And then there's people in my life who are like, you're too busy, like you're
Mm.
too fast. And so I've always danced between this, like, oh, but I'm told that's a really good thing. And then now as a mother specifically, I feel shame, or I can come across
Mm.
like feeling really shameful of like how quote unquote busy I am or we
Mm.
are.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do how do you toggle between those things where
Yeah.
you're told by some people in the world, or the world, you know, congratulates you with like the raise and the
Mhm.
promotion and the accolades for being
Mhm.
the busy, but then there's another person who's like, oh, you should really be spending more time with your kids. Oh,
Mhm.
you should go to bed like earlier, whatever. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
how does somebody who might be listening who's like really feeling that, how do you reconcile those two things?
Yeah. Well, the question I would ask you first, or a person who is in this position, I would ask you, like, how would you rate your wellness, like 0 to 10 today at your current pace with your current
Mm.
commitments? What would you
I
give
would
yourself?
say an 8,
Okay.
a 7 to 8 on the
Okay.
average day. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And what do you think would make it a 10?
Gotta drink more water.
Yes.
I'm gonna be
Okay.
real. I gotta drink
Yeah.
more water.
Yeah.
Um, I have great sleep. I
Yeah.
could use a nature walk or two.
Yeah.
Those feel like bonus. What
Yeah.
else? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Sitting
So,
down to eat. Okay, maybe
okay.
sitting down to eat. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if you are feeling aligned, which is that's how I would describe it. It's like if my values, the things I say are most important to me, I look at my life, I look at my schedule, I look at my, what I spent my time on for the last week. And I'm like, I see those values in the way I just invested my time. That to me is a definition of wellness. And like none of us are perfect, but like that's my goal. That's my measure of success in my life is, does my life align with my values? Now,
I
if there
love
was a
that.
huge discrepancy there, I think you would feel that. I think it would come out in physical ways. I think you would probably be saying things to me like, Heather, I'm like so exhausted, or I feel
Mm.
disconnected from my life or my work, or I feel like even though I'm doing great things, like I'm not able to like feel the joy of those accomplishments. These are some of the factors that the burnout index identifies as like ways to know that you're burning out. Depersonalization, a lack of connection to the things, the accomplishments you're actually having. So if you were saying those things, I'd be like, I think there's a misalignment here that it might be being driven by an external factor that's to prove your worthiness, that idea of living for something. It's very
Mm.
common. That's what I see a lot with my clients. And then I would say, like, what are the things on your calendar right now, the things that you're saying yes to that you actually don't want to be doing? Because
Mm.
there's a lot of stuff on a lot of our calendars that we're saying yes to, and what we really mean is no. And we're doing it because it's a should, right? People pleasing,
Yes.
performance, perfectionism, external validation. And those are the things that lead to burnout. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Totally. No, I think that's great. Well, it's cool because you were telling me like I feel like then for me that I'm coming back around full circle that I I need to continue to come back to this feeling of worthiness, which I'm sure is a
Mhm.
dance. Like, I don't think you woke up one day and you're like, "Okay, I'm officially worthy and I'm just going to stay here." I can
No.
imagine you're going up and down, right?
Yeah.
And so in those moments where like someone's triggering me by saying like, "Oh, you should probably like sleep more, you should slow down."
Yeah.
And I buy into that. That's me being like, "Oh, right, I'm not worthy
Mm.
because I'm working too much," or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting from that. And then I think that's beautiful that you're sharing, like, for those who are listening who are like, what if, oh, yeah, I'm not feeling that aligned. Oh, I'm feeling a bit
Yeah.
disassociated or some of these cues. And it doesn't mean you have to blow I think that was a message from the event you and I both went to yesterday. People were like, you don't have to blow up your life.
Mhm.
There's too much of that chatter right now of like,
Mhm.
you've got to just quit and blow everything up. Like small changes, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think even the whole blow up your life thing is a reaction to unworthiness. So I'm
Oh,
like, right? Because it's like, how can I create more drama? When we don't feel worthy, we create drama. And I don't say that in a way to like shame anybody because I was there, like, and I
yeah.
still get sucked into it. But that for me now is like a good indicator. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to find some like attention almost, even if it's negative attention. Like, you know how our kids are, right? Like,
Yes.
doesn't matter the behavior. They're like, if this is going to get me mom's attention, that's a win.
Yeah.
There's a part of that in all of us. And so if we're trying to like stir shit up, create drama, blow things up, it's really like we're looking for worthiness. And it's something that as adults we can give ourselves. And when you talk about like it's not like one morning I woke up and believed I was worthy, absolutely not. I built that belief like you build any belief, which is one thought at a time for 63 days, thinking the same thought every day, and it has to be a thought that you believe, even just a little bit. So maybe it starts with it's possible I'm worthy, or I'm learning that I'm worthy. And you practice that once a day, every day. And eventually it becomes a belief system. This is how our brain builds belief. And then eventually you start seeing your life through that filter. And you also start noticing when things come against that. And so if someone says to you, you should be sleeping more, you shouldn't be so busy, you take that home and you ask yourself, is there a part of that that resonates and feels true for me? And if there is, how do I adjust? And if not, you let it go. You brush it off, you flush it down the toilet, and you remember that what people are saying is usually a reflection of who they are and has nothing to do with who you are.
That's a big one too.
Yeah.
That's a big one too. And not saying that to, like, turn it back around, deflect, point the finger back at that person, but it is kind of interesting when you start to look at things through that lens, of what you just
Yeah.
said. Oh, that's so oof. I love that. What's 63 days? Tell us more.
Yeah. So it takes the brain 63 days to create a new neural pathway.
Cool.
So you've maybe heard about like neuroplasticity. It's
Yep.
actually a fairly recent idea, not just idea. It's proven by science. It's a fairly recent finding in science, and recent being like in the last 100 years. But for centuries, we believed that the brain, once it reached a certain age, couldn't change. And now we know that the brain is neuroplastic, new brain cells born every single day of your entire life. And some people think, oh, it's such a deep seated belief. That's what I hear people say to me. And I'm
Mm.
like, there's no belief that's more deep seated than 63 days. So it
That's
doesn't
so
matter.
cool.
Right?
I knew the neural pathways, I know the power of
Yeah.
coaching. I had never heard the 63 days.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah. So we're
so cool.
all like, we're all 2 months away from believing better about ourselves, about possibility in our life, about our future, about our goals. And it's an uphill battle for those 63 days. Like we in
Mm.
coaching, we call it the river of misery because like you're swimming across. I don't think of it as upstream, but like across stream. And there is a pull in your brain to keep thinking what you've always thought because the brain's one of the main three goals of the brain is to be efficient. And it's inefficient to think new thoughts. It
Yep.
requires more
Yep.
calories burned, more energy, more effort. So you're gonna feel the pull to keep going back to the old way. But once a day is not very long. I say to my clients, this is easier than eating a piece of broccoli. This is easier than going to the gym. Like set it as a reminder on your phone and have it pop up and read it once a day, journal it, like put it in your journal, put it on a sticky note. And it's just one thought at a time. And so if you are listening to this and you're going like, man, I want more rest in my life, then maybe the thought is like, it's possible I'm worthy of rest. It's possible that I don't need to do more to earn rest. It's possible that rest isn't a reward. It's my birthright as a human. Like, find some version that resonates for you and practice it. And eventually your brain will start offering it to you as your new default setting, which is just so cool.
What examples do you have of, whether it's yourself or clients or just like what you know to be true about when you slow down, you can
Hmm.
grow? And what I mean by that is, oh my gosh, it's so funny. I used this example in a little breakout yesterday.
Hmm.
So this is great timing. This is so much food for thought yesterday
Yeah.
when we were at this personal development conference. Anyways, I started using sports analogies with the person I was speaking with next to me because I was like, okay, so I used to play basketball and our coaches would be shouting at us on the floor and I was the point guard. And so I would be the one shouted at because I was kind of making the play. And they're like, slow it down. Because we would get into this stage of being like, so you said frantic.
Mhm.
The ball is flying everywhere. People are falling. There's like bodies on the ground. It's carnage, really.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, slow it down, slow it down. So I'd like literally slow my dribble down, coming up the court, resetting everybody. And I'd just like
Yeah.
kind of like take my hand and be like, okay, everyone, take it down, take it down. And then when we did that, boom, 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 like we were on fire
Yeah.
because it would like kind of be jarring together team. Like they would be like, wait, what's going on? Why are they moving so slow, so
Mhm.
methodical? The passes were better, the shots went in.
Yeah.
And I'm not normally a sports analogy gal,
I love it.
but so I guess my question is like, what do you see of that type of nature in real life
Mhm.
where you're like you slow to grow?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think being in a rush is a great sign that you don't believe you're worthy because it feels like somewhere you have to get really quick. And if we want to expand the worthiness language, we could talk about like the nervous system, and I do talk about this in the book. And the feeling of safety is something that we work very hard for, and a lot of us grew up in situations where our lived experience taught us that we did have to work really hard for safety, for acceptance, for belonging. And so undoing that it's some work, and one of the ways to do that is to slow down and regulate as you slow down, because what comes up for a lot of people when they slow down
Mhm.
is a feeling of panic, is a feeling of guilt, is a feeling of restlessness, of threat. It feels dangerous to lay on your couch
Yes.
and do nothing.
Yes. The kitchen's
So
like
wild.
there's so many things you could be doing.
Yeah, absolutely, and doing all of those things is what I mean, especially as a mom. I know you have moms and dads, and I guess dads can probably relate to this too in a different way, but, like, at the age when our kids are really little, us being tired and sleepless and exhausted means everybody's safe. It means everybody's healthy. It means I'm
Oh,
doing a good job, right? Because that's
yeah.
what it looks like at that stage. But
Yes.
then as they grow up and they start sleeping and they stop needing us for, like, every little thing, our bodies, our nervous systems are still used to sleeplessness and exhaustion equaling safety. So we have to retrain our bodies and our nervous systems that slow is safe, and that me actually getting rest is safe. It doesn't mean that I've been neglecting my child. It just means my child is finally sleeping through the night. Praise the Lord. Right? But, like, we have to teach our bodies a new way to be safe, and slowing down
Mm.
is a great way to do that. What will come up is resistance, and there's ways that you can regulate through that resistance so that you can remind your nervous system, like, you actually are safe. This didn't feel safe before, but this is safe now. And then you can kind of create that new baseline to operate from. And when you slow down, it does make everything more clear. Elizabeth Gilbert talked about the relaxed woman, which was kind of the inspiration for this book. And she said she learned from, I don't remember if it was a karate master or jujitsu master or something, but like the most relaxed person in the room is the most powerful person in the room, because when we're relaxed, we're able to take in the whole setting, the whole surroundings, see the bigger picture, make a more impactful move than when we're frantic. So it just, what you're describing makes sense to me, that like when you would slow down in the basketball game, then the plays would start coming together, and then the effort you're taking would have more impact. And that's the same in your life. When you slow down, you get to think, what do I actually want to do? What's aligned with my values? How am I doing? Okay, what's the next step that I intentionally want to take? Not in reaction to what's coming at me, but because I'm clear about who I am, where I'm going, and what I want.
Oh, that is good. You're good. Okay, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask your thoughts on like I don't know if this is like an actual term, but like say microdosing rest. So like little
Okay, yeah.
moments of like
Yeah.
microdosing rest like throughout the day
Yeah.
versus like going on a weekend long retreat once a year.
Mhm.
Like do you see there's power in both of those or is it
Mhm.
really more about the, like the habits day to day? What are your
No,
thoughts?
I definitely am all about microdosing rest. I like that. It's in the book I talk about a tool that's the long exhale, and I think we can read these lists of how to regulate and just feel like it's another to-do list, and it can actually feel very overwhelming. The one takeaway I hope people get from my book and from this conversation is that a great way to regulate your nervous system in any scenario at any time with a toddler on your leg, in traffic, whatever, is to have a longer exhale than inhale. So that might look like breathing in for 3 and out for 4, in for 4, out for 5. I recommend you do that 3 times, and then by the end of that little cycle, your body will have been sent a signal that it is safe. And that one tool I use always, like day in, day out. That's a daily rhythm. But I do think some of the things you're talking about are like, what does it look like to also create some weekly rhythms and some monthly rhythms and some annual rhythms of rest? So for me, I would love to go on a retreat once a year. And if I didn't value rest, I would probably really struggle to do that because I have 3 children and it costs money and I have a business.
Mhm.
But it's a value and it's a priority. And so that's, an annual rhythm that I try to put into my life.
I think that's fabulous. Can we do the breath right now?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
getting this inspiration from this TikToker that I that I saw when I was putting my daughter to bed the other night. Not
Yeah.
with my daughter, but, like, while she's falling asleep. I,
Yeah.
like, hide my phone under her bed and I just, like, look at my TikToks. That's the only time I go
Smart.
on TikTok. Anyway, there's this woman on there who is, like, so famous now. I don't know if anyone's seen her, but she does, pelvic floor cueing
Okay.
to, like,
Yeah.
engage your pelvic floor, and she does
Yeah.
it on the screen, and she'll be like, "Okay, everybody, like, hold it," and then she starts talking, she's like, "Okay, and, like, 1, 2," and she's doing it with you, and you
Yeah.
can't not do it with her, so all
That's
that to say, I
amazing.
wanna give credit to this, like, pelvic floor lady,
Yeah.
and Heather's this is gonna be good. Heather's gonna
Yeah.
breathe us through this.
Yeah, and if you want, you can put a hand on your chest, and that's actually also it's not just like, "That feels nice," but your vagal nerve comes down the back of your neck, it goes around to the front of your chest, so that can also be very regulating, and then if you wanna just breathe in through your nose for 3 and out for 4, and then
Does it
in for
matter mouth
4.
or mouth or nose?
Oh,
Or
you can
ear?
do mouth for the way out.
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
in the nose for 4, out for 5, in for 5, out for 6. You just feel
I
your
like
shoulders
that.
drop and it just feels so juicy and you rub that in a little so you remember, like let your body remember this is what it feels like to be safe, to be at rest. It's a good thing.
I love that, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I like the progression too. There's something more
Mhm.
exciting about that, how it
Yeah,
how
it
it
activates
shows
the
up.
brain. Yeah. I mean, I think often we want to use our brain for everything. We're like most of us walk around like this is who I am from the neck up. This is who I am and what matters. But sometimes bringing the brain on board to help us be in the body
Yeah,
is a great way to use that strength that we have and
yep.
like help us focus on becoming more like we're also everything below the neck. The body
Oh,
matters.
I resonate with that. That, like,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like a floating head walking around,
Mhm.
or I feel like I've, like, gotten myself dressed up and then there's, like, no head there, and I don't know, I feel very disassociated head to body.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
The REST framework. So
Mhm.
we love a good framework. Tell
Mhm.
us about in the book, the REST framework. Walk us
Yeah.
through just what that looks like, how we can start small,
Yeah.
all those good things.
So there's 3 main pillars to rest. It's our mindset, our emotions, and our nervous system. We've talked a lot about the nervous system so far. Um, and then we've talked about the mindset as well. Like the way we think about not just ourselves, but also how we think about rest will determine how we show up for it. And the third piece that we haven't really talked a lot about, but is emotions.
Mm,
A lot of what is stealing our rest isn't even like our schedules being full or having bad thoughts about it. It's that we're running from our emotions so much of the time. And so if we can learn to process an emotion in the moment, it takes often as little as 90 seconds to 5 minutes to process an emotion. But yet, as long as we resist it, it will persist. So if you're feeling exhausted and it's because you haven't been letting yourself be sad, be scared, be mad, be any of those things, that is a great way to create more space, capacity, rest in your life, is to start to allow the emotions instead of running from them. So those kind of three
Okay.
are like the core foundational pieces. And then from that, the book also talks about like, okay, practically, what does this look like? Which would be kind of the progression of understanding what your values are, starting to create a schedule that aligns with those values, not just a to-do list, but a schedule. And then starting to live out the things that really matter to you instead of this quest for worthiness and the shoulds. Yeah.
Yes. That is so cool. There's an episode I did it'll be a number of episodes ago at the time that this airs, and it's with Joanna Brewster. So I'm going to
Love
call
her.
that out.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. She's an EQ guru, and she
Yeah.
talked a lot about that. We talked at length about feelings and like feeling your
Amazing.
feelings, having feelings
Yes.
conversations with your kids, and how do we really bring that in. And
So
so we
good.
can, if anybody wants to hear more about that, read the book and listen to that episode with Joanna Brewster. I'll put it in the show notes. Because it's so true. It's that dissociation is a survival. I mean, I know for me personally, in my hardest times, it's a survival mechanism to just
Yeah.
to disassociate. And I
Yeah.
remember having a beautiful therapist be like, Andrea, in this moment, you need to do what you need to do to survive, but you can't.
Mhm.
We also need to address this, and you can't live
Right.
there forever.
Yeah.
And you got to feel the feeling. You have to address it and maybe not act from there quite so much.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's there's just too much that we can distract ourselves with though. There's too many
Yeah.
good things. There's too many good shows on, you know?
Hey,
Having a
I'm
bad
over
day.
watching a good show.
There's so much good TV on right now. It's madness. My husband's like, "Want to watch
Yeah.
a movie?" I'm like, "No, we have so many shows we're watching." He's like, "Oh, you never want to watch a movie anymore." I'm like,
Oh,
I know.
I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think it's like, it's just interesting to kind of explore for yourself, like, how much of the time am I trying to escape something, or how much of the time am I actually just like wanting to rest? And
Yes.
even like as a mindset focused coach, there's a lot of times I have to stop working on my mindset. Like, I'm like, I need a break from thinking about how I'm thinking. So that's what a show is great for.
That's what a show is great for. That's what fiction books. I always have a fiction book on the
Yes.
go for this
Yeah.
exact reason. I'm like, I mean, I could speak with you all day. I could speak with guests like you all day or a day, but you
Yeah.
gotta rein it in. Like
Absolutely.
LeBron James, going back to basketball, he's not playing basketball all day, every day. His
No.
rest rhythm is nuts. If anyone's seen, what was anyways, Starting Five, or anyways, there's been tons of like Netflix shows on these people and
Okay.
these athletes,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, their rest is also their full-time job,
Yeah, they
which is
take it really
so cool.
seriously.
So
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
Heather, this has been so much fun.
It has been.
What would you say you're still trying to figure out?
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure out so many things. I'm in therapy, and the big thing we're working on right now is I'm trying to figure out how to not separate out the parts of me. Like, I lead a lot with my head, as we were talking about the talking heads. My therapist calls it the wise part, wise Heather. She's like, you like wise Heather the best. You think wise Heather has all the answers. At the table, when it's wise Heather and young Heather and wild Heather, you always only want wise Heather to speak. So I'm trying to learn how to create space for little Heather to have a voice, to come out and play, to lead, to make the decision. Sometimes I'm trying to also think about that for like the wild part of me. So really integration of those parts, because I can talk myself all anywhere I want. And it always sounds like, oh wow, Heather really has it figured out. But that's one part of me. And that part isn't actually the only good part. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out still.
That is extraordinarily profound.
Yeah,
Very
I know.
profound. I also
It's
love when people
necessary.
start sentences off with, "Well, this is what I was talking about in therapy." I'm like,
Oh,
"Yes, I'm
oh,
here for it.
yeah.
Give it to me. I
Yeah.
wanna know."
Yes. No, I love my therapist, but she is constantly talking about little Heather. And then I'm like, it's because I'm constantly ignoring her. It's the only reason she keeps bringing her up. I'm
Get like
not
a
doing my
doll that
homework.
looks like you and just like bring it to your like sessions and be like, "Here,
Yes.
she's here.
Here,
She's
she's here.
physically here. I've
Yeah.
got a
And then
little
she'll be
bobblehead of
like,
myself."
why is she so little?
You need her to be
No, I'm
smaller
just
or
kidding.
bigger? I don't know.
She
Heather,
wouldn't
where
care.
can everybody buy The Rest Revolution, The Power of Rest for Women? It is like, it's a
Yes.
beautiful texture. It's a beautiful
Oh,
color.
thank
It feels very
you.
calm. My husband says he loves the alliteration.
Oh, thank
Just some
you.
feedback.
I love that. Yeah, no, it's on Amazon and it's anywhere books are sold. Chapters, Indigo, Barnes& and Noble. You can go in there. If they don't have it, you can request it. They'll bring it in for you. And yeah, that's where
I
you can
love
find it.
that. And I love that move. There's a little bookstore near us, and I forgot that you can do that. Like, I
Yeah,
often will just ask them, "Hey, can you bring this very particular, very weird, obscure, not this book, but, other very obscure books
yeah,
that I want?" And they're like, "Oh," and they're kinda taken aback and so pleased, and it's the same
yeah.
price as other places. So, it's not like
Well,
there's no price gouging.
no, because you upload the book onto Ingram Sparks, which is like the distribution for all books, and then all bookstores have access to that. So, and then it also actually helps the authors too, because if people request the book, then they sometimes bring in additional copies, and then
Mm.
more people get to learn about it.
Cool. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on. Where can everybody find you, learn more about you? I mean, so we've got the book cover. They're going to go buy the book, but where can they follow you
Yeah,
online, learn more about what you're
you
doing,
can find
coaching?
me at Heather Boersma. Well, sorry, that's my email. heatherboersma.com is my website. And on Instagram at Heather Boersma Coach. That took a lot of
Okay.
thought.
We're going to put it in the show notes too, but it's nice to just
Great.
like verbalize it too,
Great.
Boersma, Boersma,
Wow. Well
right?
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it,
Yes.
girl.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much again for your
Thank
time. This was like,
you.
I feel rested after this. I hope
Oh,
everyone else does
good.
too.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.